texts a day. The dude that owned my phone number before me, this dude Raymond, was a moron.
Right.
And Raymond, you fucking idiot. Thousands of men and women from across Asia, India, the Philippines, Indonesia, even Brazil, are being lured by fake job offers promising stable work in digital marketing or tech. They're told they'll work in online companies, make good money, and live comfortably. They pay their own way to travel to Myanmar or Cambodia, chasing opportunity. But the moment they arrive, their dream turns into a nightmare. Their passports are seized, their phones are taken, and suddenly, they're locked inside massive, heavily guarded compounds, modern-day scam factories. These aren't small rooms with a few computers. We're talking about sprawling complexes run by organized gangs, complete with security guards, electric fences, and armed militias. Inside, hundreds of captives sit in rows of desks, pretending to be investors, lovers, or customer service agents, all while their own lives hang by a thread.
A lot of times you think, these scammers, these guys that are texting and emailing you and calling you, that these are, people in West Africa or, wherever, but like loan operators. Well, we did a story about these scam factories. Have you heard of these?
No. Imagine working 18 hours a day, under constant surveillance, scamming strangers across the world because refusing means torture or worse. Many of these victims have shared chilling accounts, beatings with cables, water, torture, even electric shocks, just for trying to resist. Some are forced to watch others being abused as a warning. Can you imagine that level of control? It's not just about money anymore. It's psychological domination. These victims are stripped of their freedom, their dignity, and even their humanity. Think about that for a second. If a single scam hub can steal that much, what does that say about the scale of the entire system? We're not talking about hackers hiding in basements anymore. We're talking about full-blown corporate-style operations with executives, managers, investors, and accountants, all managing an industry built on lies. These criminal empires have HR departments, training rooms, and even motivational speeches to push enslaved workers to scam harder, faster, and smarter. It's a chilling mirror of legitimate business.
Basically factories, sometimes with thousands and thousands of people, forced labor. So these are mostly people from India, sometimes Brazil, other Asian countries. The Philippines is a big place where they respond to ads to work in what they think are legitimate businesses, to work in online companies and whatnot. And they pay for their expenses to travel to these places, to Cambodia and Myanmar. In Myanmar, they're operating out of this area that's an ongoing civil war and is ruled by these militias. And they get in there, and as soon as they get in, they take away their passports, and they're trapped, and they're forced to scam. So they spend
cities in Myanmar, complete with 5-star hotels, casinos, and water parks funded entirely by money stolen from innocent people around the world. Picture that luxury built on pain. And here's the terrifying truth. The victims on both sides never even see each other. The people losing their life savings in America or Europe have no idea their money is funding criminal syndicates in Asia. And the people sending those scam messages, they're often prisoners tortured into obedience, forced to type, call, and deceive. It's a supply chain of suffering, and the product is your trust. This isn't just financial crime. It's an international crisis that blends human trafficking, money laundering, cybercrime, and corruption into one monstrous industry. And yet, global response remains painfully slow. Why? Because this machine is too profitable, too protected. Governments, militias, and powerful investors have a stake in keeping it running. So, ask yourself, if a $15 billion can be traced to just one criminal network, how much more is out there? How much of the digital world we interact with every day, the ads we see, the messages we get, the investment opportunities that flood our inboxes are really just tentacles of this billion-dollar beast? One survivor described how he was tied up and sprayed with high-pressure water for hours until his skin blistered. Another was forced to stand for an entire day without food or rest, collapsing from exhaustion. One young man broke both legs jumping from a third-floor window just to escape, only to end up in a wheelchair for life. These aren't isolated stories.
It's a fucking
forced
scam.
Into scamming.
Yeah, forced into scamming. And then we interviewed a girl called Angel, who was raped repeatedly by her bosses, and she's sort of the face model. So a lot of times after speaking to these, what they think are romantic relationships for a long time, they want to see people's faces. So this is the girl that then they put a fake AI face on top of her, but it has to be a girl because of the mannerisms and the voice. And they have this girl who actually speaks English, and she would talk to victims of scams and pretend that she was the wonderful woman that they'd been dating for months.
Obedience. And the horror doesn't stop there. Women trapped in these compounds face an even darker nightmare. Take the story of a woman named Engel. She was raped repeatedly by her superiors, turned into a puppet for the gang's online scams. Her face was used to create fake AI-generated identities, beautiful women who fell in love with online victims before scamming them out of their savings. Imagine living that double torment, forced to deceive others while being dehumanized yourself. Angel said through tears, "I just want to say sorry to the people I've scammed. I didn't want to hurt anyone." That line alone should stop us cold. She's a victim forced to victimize others. Can you imagine the psychological torture of that existence? Working 18 hours a day pretending to be someone else, all while knowing that refusal means pain. It's not just about money anymore. It's about breaking the human spirit. These scam compounds are factories of fear, where every beat of the heart is controlled by gangs who profit from suffering.
What are most of the scams? Are most of the scams romantic?
Crypto scams. They're called pig butchering scams.
Pig butchering?
Yeah, that's the name they give them because it's an Chinese expression. It started in China. It started as a domestic scam in China, actually. And yeah, pig butchering because the idea is that you fatten the pig, which is your victim, and then you kill them at the end, right?
Now, let's be honest. How many of us would have ever guessed that those spam messages or fake investment DMs could come from someone enduring this level of brutality? We tend to label scammers as villains. But what happens when the scammer is actually a slave, when the hand typing the scam message is shaking from pain, not greed? Here's how it works. It starts with a simple, innocent-looking message. Hey, long time no see? Or did you get my text? You might think it's a wrong number, but it's actually a trap, one that opens the door to months of emotional grooming. The scammer, often posing as an attractive, successful person, begins to build a relationship with you. They share photos, stories, dreams. They seem real, caring, and attentive. You feel seen, understood, and that's exactly the point. Weeks or months later, they start talking about their financial success. Maybe they mention cryptocurrency investments or how they made easy profits trading online. Out of curiosity or trust, you follow their advice, you invest a little, you see fake profits on a convincing website, you start believing. So you invest more. And just when you think you've made it big, the entire thing collapses. Your money disappears, your contact vanishes, and you're left staring at a blank screen, wondering how it all went wrong. This isn't just manipulation, it's emotional engineering. These scammers study human psychology using charm, loneliness, and greed as tools. They make victims believe they're part of something intimate and real. It's not just about stealing money, it's about stealing identity, confidence, and trust. And here's the dark twist. Many of the scammers sending these messages aren't free either. They're captives, forced to perform this emotional labor, typing words of affection they don't mean to survive another day. Inside those fortified compounds in Myanmar and Cambodia, every rescue attempt is a ticking time bomb. The gangs running these scam factories don't let go easily. Each captive is a source of money, both for the scams they're forced to run and for their potential ransom. If a family or charity wants to save someone, they have to pay $10,000, sometimes $12,000. Imagine that, freedom sold a price, negotiated like a business deal between criminals and rescuers. And it's not just the cost that's terrifying, it's the process. The rescuer must deal with armed militias, corrupt officials, and unpredictable gang leaders. Every step requires bribes, disguises, and split-second decisions. In one documented case, a Filipino woman was promised release after her boss accepted payment. But when the rescuers arrived, she didn't even know where to go. Over the phone, she whispered that she was terrified to move because if the guards saw her with a phone, she'd be beaten and locked in a dark cell for days. Can you imagine that fear? She's being told, run to the west gate, someone's waiting, while she's shaking, crying, surrounded by danger. It sounds like a movie scene, but this is the reality hundreds of captives face every single day. Some are freed after long negotiations. Some vanish forever, and some, like that Filipino woman, are eventually released after months of uncertainty. But at what cost? Emotionally, physically, and financially, these rescues take everything from those who attempt them. Now, here's the shocking part. Governments aren't leading these operations. It's mostly small, faith-based or humanitarian organizations stepping in where official forces can or won't. Why? Because these compounds sit in lawless regions, guarded by private armies. No one wants to take the risk. It's easier to ignore it than to confront it. So the next time you hear about another online fraud case, remember behind that story might be a silent hero risking everything. A captive whispering for help in a world still deciding whether saving lives is worth the price.
$1 million,
and
you'd
he would
realize
be
you
able
get
to
lied
put back the $45 million that he stole from his customers.
Boy.
I think the realization, and this is something that I know from talking to so many scamming victims, it's not so much about wanting to make that money, it's the realization that you've been talking to somebody that's not real and that you have been so swindled. And, I don't want to use the word dumb because I think all of us can fall victims to these scams.